Alana, Jaylo.
Yes.
How's it going right now?
Good. Had a good breakfast. Was leftovers from yesterday.
What did we eat?
We ate leftover burritos.
So good, babe.
It was really good. It was really, really good. It even tasted just as good or even better the next day.
I'm glad that we decided to cook it again on the stovetop, or reheat it rather.
Yeah.
Instead of just putting it in your microwave.
I think that yes, that was much better, actually.
It would have been easier.
It would have been easier, but then the only problem I would have with that is the beans and the corn. I don't know if they would be able to fit in one bowl.
We could have made that work, but I'm just worried because microwaves don't always heat all the way through.
They don't, and that really bugs me.
Although my sister has a really good microwave.
Yeah, she does.
Yeah.
She does.
It works great.
Now, I like the microwave I have now. The only thing is that the inside of it is narrow.
I haven't really felt the inside of yours yet, because you just got it earlier this week.
I just got it earlier. I like it. It works. It's just that the inside is narrow, so you have to be careful about how many things you put in there.
It looks really nice, though.
It is nice. They really did a good job of picking things that would be good for my place.
Yes.
They did a wonderful job, actually. Yes.
We had some issues setting up your bed frame, and we discussed it at one point here, so we don't have to go into all the details.
No.
But
yes,
I was thinking on Thursday night before I came over, how could we fix it? Because there is like a hole on the inside part that doesn't look like it connects to anything. And a friend told me, because he has some experiences with the place where you got your bed frame at.
Oh, yeah.
He said that sometimes they'll mix and match parts.
Yeah.
So I was trying to think how to make it all come together. And then it comes to me, why don't we get like one of those carabiner things that they use for rock climbing?
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to order some of those when I get home.
And those are strong.
They are.
And you know, they really hold up well with harnesses, and they are good with weight distribution, as you said, because they help hold people up in harnesses. And what else are they used for besides that?
That's only what I've used them for.
Okay, yeah, that's the only one I've used them for too. But I think that would work. I think it would work. I'm excited about that.
Excited about it too.
Yeah.
Now I know that Amazon, when I looked online the other night, they had some variations on times for delivery, and part of that is due obviously to COVID-19 and other issues. So it's possible we won't have it by next weekend, but I'm almost certain we'll have it within 2 weeks.
Nice. Well, I can spare another week. I can, I've been handling it for almost 3 months. So what's another week gonna do?
Your back hasn't broken yet.
It hasn't broken. I will tell you that there were times where I would wake up and I would be hurting from the waist down a little bit because of the position, the positions that I would be.
It wasn't because of stuff that I did.
I'm not talking about you.
Okay.
I'm talking about when I'm by myself.
Okay, gotcha.
What are you talking about?
You said you were hurting from the waist down.
No.
All right. Back to the story thing.
I gotta do this. By the way, folks, before I talk about what I was going to talk about, today's a very, very special day for us.
It is.
Our 2-year anniversary as a couple.
We were messing around before then, not in that way.
It was kind of iffy. What is it? Is it the word iffy?
Yes.
We were kind of in a place where I was trying to decide on what I wanted to do.
A few other people were chasing Alana.
Well, they weren't doing a very good job, actually.
No.
They were not doing a good job.
And so I was kind of like, hey, I like being around you, but if you're gonna, mess around, then I'm gonna have. Daddy's got to have his fun too. And then she kind of came to her senses, and we've been monogamous and all that stuff.
But you didn't do anything like that. I didn't do anything like that either. Really? I didn't. No, there was no other person that I was seeing when we were on the fence of actually making it official. I told you that before.
You did tell me that, but it makes for a much more interesting
story. I did not see anybody. I can tell you that right. Whoever's listening, I can say that with all honesty, that I honestly did not see any other guy except for him.
Okay, so without giving names, the 3 other guys that were kind of in the picture when we first met, you're pretty much then putting them on ice, it sounds like.
Yeah, I was like, yeah. I mean, one wasn't available, but wanted to be available. The other one, I didn't have any interest in. The other one, well, I won't. The other one was another different story too.
That we don't have to go into.
That we won't have to go into, but he shall remain nameless, and yeah, he wasn't actually trying. Actually, that's what I was trying to say.
Okay.
He wasn't trying, and I kind of figured, okay, that's fine. And I knew that he would have liked it to happen again, but he wasn't actually trying, and I was the one that ended things. So
we could have made it official a few months earlier, but you were kind of like, oh, I don't know about this. So cute.
No, we couldn't have.
Well,
no. Oh, you mean a few months before I decided?
Yeah.
We could have, but I just wasn't ready.
Okay.
And I just wanted to, the person previous, I was with this person for a long time. And I wanted to make sure that I was ready. I already knew that you were ready by June.
Yeah, I mean, if a woman is there, she looks relatively decent.
Relatively decent?
When I'm sober.
What is that supposed to mean?
Well, I mean, if I'm sipping on something strong, then the relatively decent may go out the window. But if she's ready to go, then I'm pretty much ready for. I'm down for whatever, as Ice Cube would say.
Okay.
Because I'm down for whatever. You know that song?
I think so.
It's a great song, and it's in the movie Office Space.
Okay.
But it has been 2 years since it has become a thing between you and us on paper.
Yes, on paper. On paper? There was no paper. We didn't sign a contract.
Well, that's just a term I
I know.
My ass and was hoping I wouldn't be called out on as soon as I said it.
On paper. Well, I knew what you meant. I was just kidding.
How has this been for you, babe?
It has been a very good and interesting ride. It has been.
What's been interesting about it?
Well, I guess I didn't know how it was going to be. And I wasn't sure... I wasn't sure if we were even going to last for a year. I don't know. I mean, I didn't have any expectations going into it because I knew that there was a couple things that we were not on the same page with, and it really did worry me a little bit. And I was very, very worried that it wasn't going to work out. But I decided to give it a shot because if I didn't, I knew I was going to regret it.
I mean, the two elephants in the room are obviously... You're a big Trump supporter, and I'm a big Bernie person. And you're a Christian. I would consider myself a spiritually leaning agnostic. So those were probably the biggest things that we had to come to terms with as our differences on those.
And we're
issues.
still kind of, making our way through this as we're on this journey together, I guess. Does that make sense?
I would say that's fair to say. Because you haven't changed your views on politics and religion, and my views have remained consistent throughout this relationship as well.
Right. But we don't know what's going to happen. We may end up on the same page as more than what we have been before, or I don't know. I mean, we don't really know what's going to happen, and I think that's what makes it exciting.
I've always thought it would be funny if, at the end of 4 years, I'm talking about the greatness of Trump, and you're campaigning to make AOC either president or vice president.
I doubt that's going to ever happen in my lifetime.
I doubt that would either.
That would not happen in my lifetime. If that did happen in my lifetime, then something would be seriously wrong with my head. You would have to have me committed or something.
Well, I was just going to say that I would probably have to suffer a brain injury.
What?
If I were to support Trump, if I was to talk about the greatness of our current...
Well, people have changed their beliefs over time. People have done that over time, whether they found out something differently and thought about something differently about a person and completely misjudged them, or they just don't change their beliefs. So you never know. I mean, it could be possible, but like I said, we're still kind of we're still trying to navigate our way through this whole thing together.
Beyond the two challenges that I just mentioned, what other mental or psychological, I guess, distractions or...
Distractions?
Distractions isn't the best word.
What are you talking about?
What other things have we had to overcome? Obstacles was the word.
Obstacles?
And I hate it when that happens.
Obstacles?
Yeah.
I don't know that... I think maybe communication.
Okay.
Because, and we're still trying to figure this out too as we speak. But I want to get back to, I do want to get back to the bed thing before...
okay, let's go back to that then.
Before I go on a tangent about the communication thing.
Tell me.
Well, remember when you were saying about the... what were we talking about? It was the carabiners, and you wanted to try to see if it could hold up the bed frame. Mm-hmm. And then I was talking about the microwave, and I said it was really narrow on the inside. And you said that your sister had a good microwave. And then what was the other thing we were talking about?
I can't remember.
It's going to drive me crazy. We went on a tangent, folks, as we always do. We kind of go off.
That you already heard and are probably pulling your hair out right now.
Like, saying, what is it? What is it?
I know what they were talking about.
I know what they were talking about, but they just forgot.
But it was something that you wanted to talk about, so I just assumed that you remembered.
What was it? Let me think. We're talking about the microwave. I commented that the place where I got the furniture did a really good job of picking furnitures. I'm sure it'll come back to me.
It was something that you wanted to discuss, so I just figured.
I know. I wish there was a way to rewind it back.
Okay. We'll put a pin in this discussion.
We will put a pin in this discussion.
And if you remember it, we can go back to it. If not, which is often the case that we remember stuff as soon as we post this, then we can discuss it maybe tomorrow.
Yes, that's good.
Okay. So go ahead with the communication part of our relationship.
The communication is where I think we're still trying to figure it out because honestly, I mean, I love you. I've told you this before.
Go ahead.
There are times where I have felt that you wanted to give me advice, but to me it came out as nagging. And I'm probably and it's because that's how it comes across to me.
Yeah.
And we're still trying to figure it out. I mean, it's a work in progress for the both of us to kind of figure out each other's communication styles. As far as, I want it done. I want something done one way, but you want something done another way because you think it's more efficient. Or I think it's more efficient that I do it this way. Whatever it is. Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay. Did I make you feel bad? I didn't mean to.
No, because I still feel like I'm mostly correct.
Yeah, that's the problem there.
And it's just you haven't seen the light.
Well, you, my dear, are only human.
Also, sometimes you get like a little bit too defensive about things.
What is that saying? To err is human?
That's right.
Yes.
So you're very much part of our species, babe.
Well, you are just as much a part of the species as I am.
Well, thank you.
But what I mean is that you are human and you're not going to be right all the time when it comes to how I do stuff.
No, but I think I have a good set of experiences which help me oftentimes come up with a solution that is efficient.
But are you so if I'm reading correctly, are you one of those people that likes to fix things? So as far as making solutions about things.
I don't like to let problems linger.
I understand that. I get it. I don't either.
And part of that comes from I feel that I was guilty of doing that in the past, where I would complain about things.
But you never did anything.
Yeah, and I wouldn't look at my own shit and how I was contributing to it. And that was a mistake that went on through my 20s into my early 30s.
Well, do you think that's why now you're looking at other people's stuff because you didn't do that before?
Yeah, except I'm not really looking at other people's stuff. What happens is you'll express to me a problem, and my mind goes to, well, this is what you should do, and it'll reduce the problem or eliminate it completely from your life.
Right, but my thing is that I didn't, like, my thing is if I come to somebody with a problem, whether it's you or not, it's not that I want them to fix the problem or give me a solution right then and there. It's that I want them to listen, and I'll take care of the problem, whether I do it their way or not.
I think this is a fundamental difference between men and women, right?
It is.
Because in my mind, I'm thinking that I'm showing you that I'm listening because I'm telling you the solution to the problem.
Right. But
and in your mind, you're thinking that I'm lecturing to you.
Uh-huh. You see, women are very, emotional beings, right? We want to know about what's going on in a man's day. Not all the time. I mean, not every woman wants to know that every minute of every second of every minute of every hour. But we also want our men to listen and not give any comments or solutions or whatever it is.
And my way of thinking is that this is how you know I'm listening.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, how are you going to know that I'm not zoning out if I don't contribute something to the conversation that's helpful? Okay.
But we're still trying to figure that out together as now that it has been 2 years, as the 2 years are going on, or going forward rather from the 2 years. I don't know. But we're trying to figure it out as best as we can.
We are.
We haven't. It's not perfect. It will never be perfect, but it can always improve.
That's true.
Can always improve. So, is there any surprises, any pleasant surprises that you have noticed in the 2 years?
Since we've been together?
Yes. Well, what else are we talking about?
You're usually a very sweet person. And I like that. I also enjoy that you're not one of these people who's too cool for the room. Which is something I've noticed, not with every person I've dated,
right,
but with a fair amount of them. I've noticed that they try to be above it all, if that makes any sense. Like,
I think I understand, like, oh, I'm too cool to listen to or to pay attention to.
I know I always go back to this example.
Mm-hmm.
But I was, kind of seeing this girl. This was within the last... I don't even want to give a time frame. This is since I've been an adult. Okay. And we're seeing each other off and on for a little while. And if I texted her more than like once a week, it would be considered like, oh, I'm crushing her independence. I'm not letting her be her.
That wouldn't bother me at all. Right. I would love it if a guy. I mean, I love that we talk to each other twice a day.
But I mean,
or text each. If you texted me twice a day, I would love that.
Yeah, but I respect that could be overkill.
Yeah.
But I also think that if you think I'm smothering you because I text you twice a week or more,
there's something
then
wrong.
We shouldn't be in a relationship.
We shouldn't be in the relationship. Yeah, I mean, I understand what smothering is, but a couple of texts twice a day.
No, twice during the week.
Twice during the week is nothing.
It would be twice during the week. It would be like, oh, he's smothering me, and I'd hear these reports from people.
I don't understand that. To me, that makes no sense. Smothering would be like delivering, mailing presents to me every single week.
I knew a friend who did that with a girl.
That would be annoying.
Yeah.
You know what? That would be or coming to my house unannounced for like every day.
Or asking you, well, what did you do today? Who did you see? What was their conversation like?
So I dated a guy for a very short time, the shortest relationship ever, and I really, really want to forget it because it was the worst. It was one of the worst times of my life, and he would come to my house, and I mean, there was one time where my mobility instructor at the time was over at my house, my mobility teacher. And he shows up unannounced, didn't call me, nothing, right? And this is around the time that I still had a landline and I wasn't using my cell phone very often. And I was thinking, well, who does he think he is? He can't just show up, what if I'm busy? What if, and clearly I was. I mean, luckily my lesson was almost over, but what if I was not, what if I wasn't home?
I am not a fan of just dropping in on people, unless it's like an extreme emergency.
So I don't mind surprises as long as the person, like if the person, I mean, this has happened in the past when the person's like, so how's it going? How are you doing? And they'll ask me things like, when are you free or whatever it is. I like surprises like that, but I like them when it's all right, when I'm actually home. But I don't like it when people like that one guy I dated would just come unannounced and just take over my house. It's just, it was horrible.
Another thing I liked, which we used to do, but you kind of put the kibosh on it, when we would read a book together.
Well, I've kind of taken a break on that. I know I need to get back to doing that. But I think since I moved, it's kind of been, I've been kind of like concentrating on that and bills, and I just kind of put that on the back burner, but I'll get back to that.
I have not done that with an ex-girlfriend. Having said that, I'm sure some of my exes would have been open to the idea, but I just never presented that concept to them.
Okay.
So those are some things that I've been enjoying about the relationship.
What I've been enjoying is getting into movies together that maybe we either both haven't seen or one of us has seen and the other one hasn't heard of, and also cooking together.
That's been a lot of fun.
Cooking has been really fun. I've always wanted to be with somebody that would want to cook with me in the kitchen.
I love cooking.
Yeah. Yeah, and I love that you love cooking.
I didn't always love it, which is why I think I really have taken to it, is because when you suck at something for a really long time and then one day you realize, I'm actually pretty good at this, it encourages you to do more because you can really chart your progress.
And I love that you're just as crazy about chocolate as I am, and as crazy about music as I am. I don't think I've ever met anyone, I don't think I've ever dated anyone that's as crazy about chocolate as me.
Nice.
You're probably crazier about chocolate than me.
Yes.
Which is saying a lot because I love chocolate.
This is not going to make me look very masculine. I have a very, very, very close female friend of mine who I've known for close to 15 years. Mm-hmm. And sometimes
I can kind of guess, right?
Yeah, and sometimes he'll say, oh, Rick loves chocolate more than any girl I know.
She hasn't talked to me yet.
Which is likely true, that I do love it more than any woman she's ever met.
Well, she hasn't met me yet.
That's true.
Yeah, she hasn't met me.
We should say that she lives in a different part of the country.
She would be... By the way, did you mention to her that I like chocolate? I mean, really like it?
That she could envision me dating somebody who was not obsessed with chocolate. But she also knows my political views and was shocked when I told her that I'm dating a Trump supporter.
She didn't think that would happen.
No. She didn't think that would happen at all. Knowing my politics.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you got to remember, I thought Obama was too conservative. But that's a discussion for another time.
That is a discussion for another time. And you know how I feel about that.
I know. We disagree on that.
We definitely disagree on it. But what else did I... Yeah, I love the movies. I love that you really like books. I really feel like my artsy, creative, I guess creative side has come out a little bit more. My music side has come out a little bit more, and I've begun to come out of my shell again with that, because as you know, we met each other at an open mic.
I remember.
And I'd like to go back to that too. Also with writing, I'm not as passionate about writing as I am with about music, but writing, since we actually have to get back to doing that, we kind of put the kibosh on it for a little bit. That's been coming out too, and I like that. And then also, going on walks. I like going on walks when I can. I don't always get to do that, and I don't always. I mean, when I joined the sports organization that we are a part of, I'm glad that I was able to do that since I met you, because I used to do that when I was a kid, and I'm just so thankful that we still have an organization here where we can meet other people in the community, that are other people in the blind community, and do some fun activities.
And you didn't even know about that organization until I told you about it.
Actually, I heard about it from somebody.
Okay.
I did. I heard about it from a friend of mine across the river. But I didn't even think about, thinking that that there was a chapter in Oregon. So. And then you told me about it in the beginning of last year.
That's right. Because I've been involved with them for a while.
Well, I didn't know about it until 2 years ago. Let's see. That would be 2 years ago in September.
That I was involved in it.
Yeah, because you invited me to go to that pizza place.
That's right.
Where they had a get together with volunteers and athletes.
Remember that, babe? Remember when we were able to go out to pizza places and meet with people?
We will. We'll be able to do that
again.
We will be able to do that again. It's not gonna be like this forever. And
no, but it sucks right now.
It could be a lot worse. Believe me, it could be a lot worse.
I understand that, but it also could be a lot better.
It could be a lot better, but it also could be a lot worse. I mean, you kind of have to think about. I mean, I see it as, I know it's bad now, but it's not. It's gonna pass. It's not gonna. We're gonna look back on this and see it as a distant memory. But until then, we just have to make the most of it.
As you know, I am a huge movie buff.
Yes, you are.
And I have been pretty much my entire life. But life can get in the way. Mm-hmm. And there was a number of years to where I'd watch a movie now and then, but I really wasn't as focused on that form of arts until the pandemic started happening. And you and I began having movie nights at your place. Uh-huh. So you've encouraged me to rediscover an old love.
Oh.
And it's also really fun to go to see live music and have somebody to dance to.
Oh, I love that too, because I don't like dancing by myself, and it's really refreshing to know that you don't care if anybody's looking at us.
No. Well, I'll dance by myself when I go to events. Because I would do ecstatic dancing without you before the pandemic started, because you're not really into that. But when there's live music and we both go, I love to dance. Yeah,
and I like dancing with somebody I'm with. I don't like dancing by myself, but knowing that you like to do that, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. I would dance with you anywhere.
And don't get it twisted. I'm still a really bad dancer, but...
Oh, I don't even care about that.
I don't think people are going there to look at me and what I'm doing.
I think what I've heard, I know people have come up to us and said that they saw us dancing, and I think just to know that we're having a good time. I don't think they're really paying attention to how we're dancing, and I don't really care if...
Yeah, I think it translates. Like, people will forgive you for being a bad dancer if you look like you're really enjoying yourself and you're sending out that vibe.
Right. Yeah, I remember last summer, in fact. Remember when we went to the...
I know where you're going with this. When we went to the free Noon Tunes.
No.
Oh.
Not that. What do you think it was?
I thought you were talking about the event at Pioneer Square.
What, the library?
No, Pioneer Square, the live music. You were thinking about the library thing.
No, I was not talking about Pioneer Square. I was talking about Laurelhurst Park.
Oh, that was a lot of fun.
The big band concert, remember?
Was great. Yeah.
We thought we missed it because we were I think we missed like 15 minutes of it, but we finally got there, and it was like across the street, and we had a really good time, and the weather was really nice, and it was a nice Sunday afternoon. We
That was the day of the Hawthorne Street Fair.
Yes, we went to the Hawthorne Street Fair, and there was some, they were close to being done. And it was, we had enough time to leave and go to the big band concert. It was fantastic. It was, we danced to New York, and I mean, the band was so good. I don't even remember what the band was called, but it was so good. And we had a good time.
That was a great afternoon.
That was so fun. Yeah. And I would dance in the park with you for another year.
Yes. Oh, boy. I'm also glad that you were open to watching Star Trek with me.
Oh, I've had a good time. I've really gained a lot from watching a lot of Star Trek with you. I like the idea of the holodeck and the holosuite.
Very enjoyable stuff, Jaylo.
It is, and I got to see LeVar Burton in a different light now.
That's right, because you only knew him from Reading Rainbow.
Yes. I knew he was on Star Trek, but I didn't know the name of the person until someone said, oh yeah, he's a blind guy from... Excuse me. He's a blind guy on Star Trek, and his name is Geordi. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know that.
Now you do?
Now, because he's a host on Reading Rainbow, and that was like one of my favorite kid shows when I was a kid. We used to watch it in class, actually. Yes.
So we've learned a lot in this relationship.
We have. We definitely have. And I just like that we can talk about a lot of things, and you like talking about deep subjects, and you're not afraid to do that, because a lot of guys just don't want to talk.
I used to be that way, by the way. There are ex-girlfriends of mine who would probably complain that I would not go deep with them.
Really?
As far as conversation. Yeah. But I think because of those experiences, I learned to be a little bit more open.
But I like that you're open with people too, because you really want to know. I mean, I obviously was very surprised about the questions you asked me on our first date, which I wouldn't ask anybody on a first date. That was a little bit odd. But, I was surprised that you went there, but, I answered it honestly, and, and look, we're still together for 2 years.
I got the girl. I must have done something right on that.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. I will say that in the beginning of all of it, before anything happened, what really got me to think about things differently with us is that you seem to really take a lot of, put in a lot of effort into our dates, even if they were simple. And I really thought that was very attractive, actually.
Oh, thanks, babe.
Yeah, I did. I mean, it may not have been the most extravagant setting, but I like that you really...
I paid attention to things like the playlist. Because I like to cook, I was able to cook you some meals, but I really took time to plan it out. So, like, when you came over to my place for Indian food the first time, I didn't just buy pre-made naan bread. Yes. I made the naan bread.
It was so good.
And I made the curry. Yes. From scratch. I didn't buy like a pre-curry mix.
It was building up. It was just a build. That saying, a way to a man's heart is through his stomach.
Yes.
Well, that was part of the way to my heart was through my stomach. And then when I tried that celery with hummus,
homemade hummus, we should say.
Oh, it was so good. And then, well, that was actually before before the hummus and the celery. Then he introduced me to his kombucha, and I just thought that was really, really good.
Yes.
And then, but I think the best kombucha he's made is pineapple kombucha. That was the best. The blueberry mint kombucha is close to the top, but the pineapple one was like my favorite, actually.
I'm so glad you enjoyed it, babe.
So good.
Yeah.
It was really good.
Thank you.
I mean, I think you have introduced me to different tastes as far as kombucha is, and your style of Indian cooking, and I love Indian food, so...
I do too.
Yeah.
I was actually thinking next week we might want to do something like a cauliflower masala with some brown rice, but we can talk about that later.
Okay.
When I die, Alana...
Oh, are we talking about death now?
I'm telling you about when I die, not when you die.
Okay.
The two things I would want people to say about me is that I made them think, but I also made them laugh. Mm-hmm. Those are the most important things I want people to take away from me. And I hope I've done that with you.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Yes.
is there anything that you think that I've done as far as, is there anything else that you think I've done as far as made you think and laugh? I don't know.
Well,
or maybe it's something else.
I really enjoy how you've been open to exploring the ideas that are put forward in the books that I've recommended. I like how you listen to my points of view, even though sometimes I get interrupted. But overall, you listen to me. I like that you go into things, generally speaking, with an open mind. And your generosity has been something that has made me think, because I have so often in life come at things with the famine mentality. Mm-hmm. Like, you got to get yours, and, fuck the other guy. I got to get what's good for me, and then everybody else has got to run for their lives and consider themselves.
Right.
But you're a very generous person in a lot of ways. And it's helped to make me rethink those ideas.
What do you mean? Like, when I've given you things?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's because...
I have the hoarder mentality in a way.
Right. So, okay. And so, when I was growing up, I grew up in a Filipino family, and I'm explaining to the viewers, and I've told you this before, but in the Filipino culture, even if they don't have a lot of food, they'll give you as much food as they can get, even if they have to go to the store. They will clothe you. They will give you a place to stay. Filipinos are very giving and generous with the things that they have. So whenever I would go to my family's house, somebody would be cooking something because they know people are coming over. Either they're cooking something, or they'll give you snacks. Right? They'll say, "Oh, do you want this?" They'll give you permission to go to the snack drawer or something. They'll they'll make you feel as comfortable as possible. That's what my family does, and they always encourage me to share. And so sometimes if I have things, there are times where I don't feel like sharing.
Sure. But
generally, I really like to share if I have stuff that I can share. Because that's the way I was brought up. That's the way I was raised. That's something that's second nature to me. I don't want to just keep it to myself all the time.
And I'm becoming better at that. I'm learning how to become better at sharing, because I do think it is a good quality, and it's one that I've ignored for a while. And you're a big part of me becoming better at that.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I love to share to share with people. Excuse me. Not share people. To share with people that I love and care about.
Any ex-girlfriends out there want to reach back?
No. Hey.
Happy for
hey,
Thursday night?
Hey. No. That was just a slip of the tongue, folks.
Okay.
Why don't we talk about the movies we watched? Because I really would love to talk about the movies we just watched.
Yes. Last night, Alana... Well, should we start with the movie I showed you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
I showed Alana a film that I love, that is underrated, and only made $305,000 when it came out in 2002. And the film is called Pumpkin, starring the great Christina Ricci. Yes.
And I didn't even know about it until you told me about it.
What were you anticipating going into the movie?
I don't know what I was anticipating. Well, when you told me that she was kind of like Hillary Banks, except the white version of Hillary Banks, I thought, okay, is she like an airhead, but she means well? Which actually was true, except you find out pretty quickly that even though she's kind of an airhead and she's kind of, she's kind of spacey, she really has a heart.
Well, I don't think that Hillary, and I don't want to go on a French Prince thing yet, I don't think Hillary is mean. She's just really into herself.
That's what I mean.
Okay.
But that's what I mean.
Gotcha.
I mean, you find out quickly that she becomes less interested in herself.
Yes.
And I love that. Here's another thing that I noticed about Pumpkin, because she's learning about Pumpkin, and they come from different worlds, because Pumpkin is in a wheelchair.
Well, it's more than that. But
more than that. What could you explain that?
Okay, so the movie starts out Christina Ricci is going to her last year of college, and she's part of the sorority. The sorority is competing for this prize, and everybody has to pick a charity. So her house chooses the challenge games. The challenge games, which is where you work with athletes with disabilities.
And I used to be a part of games like that, actually.
Nice.
I did.
Very nice.
They're a lot of fun.
Okay. And Carolyn McDuffie, who is Christina Ricci's character, is assigned to work with Pumpkin Romanoff, a challenged athlete.
Yep.
She ends up falling in love with him. It's about the crazy adventure that leads up to the girl getting the guy.
Right. So what I noticed about that movie was really interesting is that she realizes that by meeting Pumpkin and learning about Pumpkin and learning about Pumpkin's world, she sees beyond her little bubble. She's a popular sorority sister who's dating a tennis pro.
Yes.
A person who is...
Don't say I'll never play tournament tennis.
Well, wait a minute. We got to get into that. But it was hilarious. Anyway, she's dating this really cute tennis guy that is doing tournament tennis. Kent, yes. Now, in the beginning, I thought Kent was possibly a nice guy because he was talking to Carolyn about the challenge games, and Carolyn's like, "Oh, I had a horrible day yesterday. I couldn't connect with Pumpkin," and he's like, "Well, he's just like they're just like you and me. They're just different, right?" And I thought, okay, maybe this guy has an open mind, but then you learn later on that he's so into himself that he can't see beyond tournament tennis.
Okay,
tournament tennis.
This is an area where I think you and I disagree a little bit.
What do you mean?
Okay, Kent's life is kind of falling apart because of Carolyn.
Yes. Well, he blames her.
He blames her for the tournament match, but
it really isn't her fault.
No, it's not exactly her fault. But in fairness to Kent, she is a bit of a distraction.
Yeah.
Because she's always talking about Pumpkin. He kind of knows that something's up with them, but he doesn't really understand the full extent until after the tennis match.
Yeah.
And it's pressure for him because one could only imagine what his family was like. So I give Kent a little bit of leeway with some stuff.
Really?
Yeah, especially when you see how he is at the end.
Okay.
But keep going.
And we don't really know much about his family, actually.
We can assume that he comes from rich folk.
And so does she. Yes.
Right. Keep talking about them.
Well, I mean, then there's people in the sorority girls don't understand what's going on with her. The guidance counselor, I thought that was a really funny scene. Great. The guidance counselor does not know what's going on with her. And
do you talk to your boyfriend about this, the one who's not retarded?
I had to laugh at that one. But what I really love about Christina Ricci's character that I thought was so great is that she begins to understand Pumpkin to where she humanizes him. She understands that what kind of pain could he be going through because he's lonely. Assuming he's lonely, he does have friends. He's in a wheelchair. She doesn't understand at the beginning that he likes her. Right? It's pretty obvious.
Oh, that scene is great. Where he's trying to say, Carolyn, and she eventually just goes, ah!
Yeah, and she's freaking out. And then, but the part that really got to me is when, so there was there was a very, very interesting day where she leaves Pumpkin at the beach.
I love that whole thing.
Poor guy. And she comes back to the beach. He's sunburnt, waiting for this girl. And she is in tears, and she's like, I just ruined everything.
Okay.
You should explain it.
I want to lead up to that. Mm-hmm. Carolyn hasn't fully accepted that she's in love with Pumpkin yet.
No.
She tries setting him up with one of her friends.
Kind of her friend, yeah, yes. Cece.
She doesn't tell Pumpkin this. She doesn't tell Cece this. She doesn't even tell Kent this. Mm-hmm. She surprises everybody with this double date to the beach.
Right.
So they get there. Cece runs off because she's not as open about the mentally challenged. bit of an ableist, but who isn't these days?
Right.
Kent runs after Cece. Carolyn runs after the both of them. And they drive back to the sorority house.
And she drops off Kent. She tells Kent to get out.
Yes. Gets to her sorority sisters to say, hey, we lost the Filipina girl. Because they're vying for all the diversity.
Yeah, the Filipino girl with the nice Caucasian features.
And the black girl.
And the black girl.
They want to be shown as they're woke. So she's talking to them. She's hearing about, how she screwed up, and then the bell rings, and she's like, oh my God, I forgot him. I totally forgot him.
And she forgot it was commitment day, and then she forgot her meeting with the counselor.
Yeah, so she goes...
the meeting with the teacher.
She goes in to meet with her poetry teacher, because you think when she says that, she's obviously talking about Pumpkin.
Yes.
She meets with the poetry teacher, they're talking about the stuff, and she reads Ode to Pasadena.
Yeah, and he basically tells her you have to write from your soul. You have to write about pain and things like that.
Then she realizes that she has to go. She starts running, and he says, "Where are you going?" She's like, "I forgot something." He says to her,
"Oh, that was the Wait, was that
the counselor?
The counselor.
No. The poetry teacher.
Yes. She's like, "Where are you going?" Like, I forgot something on the beach.
Yeah, something. I need to get something. And he's like, "What? Something I forgot at the beach." I thought that was great.
And I think what really got to me is when she was crying to Pumpkin because she's really, really messed up, and she said, I feel like I'm shattered inside like a broken mirror. And he looks, I'm guessing he's looking at her, and he starts to cry because she's trying to ask him about his pain, right? And he's like, that's exactly how my pain feels like a broken mirror. And he's crying. He's in tears. Both of them are in tears. And I thought, wow, you don't see it in a lot of movies. I don't know.
You don't see anything like that.
You don't see anything like that in a lot of movies.
One of the reasons I love this film instead of just like it a lot is because it's such an original story. Mm-hmm. You never see the disabled character getting the able-bodied girl at the end of a movie. This is the only film I can really think of where that happens.
Yeah, it was a really good movie. I actually love it. Actually, it's a good movie.
Oh, I love it too. There was a dispute between us, not huge, mm-hmm. and I'll give a little bit of context. When I first watched the film mm-hmm. in 2014, when it was on Netflix, I recommended it to a friend of mine. Mm-hmm. And then a couple of days later, I texted him and I said, "Hey, what did you think of the movie Pumpkin?" He writes back to me and he's like, for a drama, there was a lot of stuff in there that just didn't make sense to me. I had to explain to him that it was a comedy, that the actors just played like it was a drama.
It was a comedy that was played off as a drama.
Yes.
And I
don't think it has any real dramatic moments in it.
Really? No. Not even the time when clearly Kent is angry at Carolyn because she leaves, right?
Yes.
And then he makes fun of Pumpkin and she smacks him in the face. That was great.
I thought that was more fun. I thought that the actors were taking it seriously, but I didn't feel as a viewer that I had to look at it like a
Can you imagine?
Dark moment.
Can you imagine if they're like, they're working and the the director's like, now remember, this is supposed to be dramatic. This is not supposed to be played off as a comedy, even though it's funny. Can you imagine that?
But if they would have played it as a comedy, it would have been too over the top.
What do you mean?
Okay, so there's already a lot of things in the movie that, from a narrative point, don't make sense.
Yeah.
But you can kind of get away with it if they're a comedy. The one example that comes to mind is near the end of the film where Kent is driving his car mm-hmm. and rolls off the cliff and the car explodes. And he's released from the hospital the next day, but he's paralyzed.
Right.
They're saying I'll never play table tennis again or tournament tennis again.
Yeah, and he's like, look what you did to me, Carolyn.
And then like a week later, he's coaching Pumpkin and his team.
After and a week before that, I mean, him and Pumpkin were fighting outside of the sorority house.
It works if the film's a comedy. If it's a drama, you start looking for plot holes too much, right? Uh-huh. But if the storyline already makes you want to laugh when you really think about it. But if it's played for laughs by the actors, I think it would be too much, and it would be too unbelievable.
Huh.
So you notice it, but it's still kind of within the realm of believability. You just say to yourself, okay, that probably wouldn't happen that way in real life. But if they played it like comedy, it would be like, this is too much. It breaks the heart of the story. I think so.
That's interesting. Yeah, I never thought of it that way, but now that I watched it once, I think maybe I could think of it differently. Because I really thought it was a drama. I mean, there was definitely some funny parts, but I just thought it was more...
That's so crazy to me. You and my friend both felt the same way.
Well, I understood it more than he did.
Yeah, you understand that there are at least very funny moments.
Yes, very funny. Very funny.
Ode to Pasadena.
The boyfriend was retarded. So, let's sidetrack here a little bit.
Go ahead.
Because I was making a comment before we started recording that I had this thing happen to where I was invited to this big Valentine's Day get together. It was the day before Valentine's Day, and it was my friend Jane. It was at my friend Jane's house.
I thought we're not going to say names.
Okay.
I have to edit that out. We're not going to post this today.
Okay. What?
You said the name.
I understand.
Did you make up that name?
No.
If you would have said you made up that name, I could have posted it today.
All right, I'll rephrase that. It was a girl I went to college with, just a few years ago, and
Do you want me to post this today? All right, let me ask you this again.
Okay.
Is it possible that you're remembering her name wrong?
I don't know.
Do you want me to? Let me ask you this.
What?
Do you want me to post this today?
I do.
Then let me ask you the question again.
No, okay.
Is it possible you're remembering her name wrong?
It's possible.
Okay,
but let me.
We're going to go with that.
Okay. It's possible I could be remembering her name wrong.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay. Anyway, this person, I went to her house. It was a big Valentine's Day get-together. And her and this other girl that we went to school with, at the time, before I met Rick, we were talking, and she's like, one of them was like, do you have a boyfriend? I said, yes. And they said, is he blind too? I said, yes, he is. And they're like, oh, wow, that is so cute. And I'm like, I'm thinking to myself, okay, like, if a sighted couple were together, I wouldn't think it was so cute. The way that they did it.
Yeah, that lady was obviously being condescending to you.
I mean, I didn't find it condescending, but I thought, okay, I wouldn't have said that if another blind couple were together, or a deaf couple were together, or a sighted couple were together, because they're couples, right? It doesn't matter. But to them, I'm thinking about to them, they can't. They can't fathom that. Like, oh wow, blind people get together. I don't know. Maybe to them they were thinking, oh, it's just so cute that blind people are dating each other. I don't know. Maybe in thinking about what they said, they didn't understand that blind people date. I don't know. I mean, I didn't think of it as condescending. I just thought I was thinking, seriously? You think that's cute? I don't know. What do you think about that? I
already gave you my opinion. If it was me in that situation,
yeah,
I might say something to the effect of, well, why is that cute?
I didn't even think about asking. Yes. I just didn't think about asking, but maybe I didn't want to, I don't know, I guess it wasn't worth discussing. But I think about that and I'm like, there are some people that are just not educated about that. They're just not educated about the disability world, and that people in the disability world are social people, and they have relationships.
It's interesting to me because of the big size of the disability community in this country. Mm-hmm. But when you look at things like film, television, books, we're not really shown in media that much, and if we are, it's either the role of, the Pollyanna, mm-hmm. the person who's always in the good mood, or it's the person who's depressed and who's given up on life, or it's the friend who can never get a girl.
Right.
You know, it's never just...
It's almost like we are a part of society that's almost forgotten as far as motion pictures are concerned.
And had you let me finish my thought, I would have said something to that effect.
Okay, sorry.
That's okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't know you were going to say that.
But I would like to see a sitcom where the main character has a disability, and it's referred to, but it's not the complete focus of the show.
Right, and I think that, you know, have you noticed that when a person has an encounter with somebody that's either blind or deaf, or somebody that's in a wheelchair, they automatically focus on that, like it's the main focus of the conversation, and they ask questions.
Oh, of course I've noticed that.
And I kind of, it's so hard for me to say, excuse me, but could you please not focus on the fact that I'm a blind person, because there are other things to talk about. And I feel like in some ways I should do that, because it ends up being the main focus. Like, I remember being on buses where the driver would say, "Oh, you've really come a long way," you know.
I came all the way from my refrigerator.
Yeah, I came all the way from my refrigerator off of, you know, outside of my house just to get onto the bus, right?
Yeah.
But she or he doesn't realize that I know how to walk. I have a way to find my way because I know the layout of places, and I don't need too much assistance. Maybe some assistance once in a while, but I don't know. I just feel like in some ways in media we are the forgotten people.
I think that's absolutely the case.
Yes, we have been forgotten.
The question becomes then, how to change that?
Yes.
To me, and this is something that I think the left gets wrong a lot. It's not about boycotting and just releasing statements showing that blind people or whatever disabled population.
I would not protest movies.
Yeah, you interrupt me a lot.
I'm sorry.
It's not just doing that. A point I was going to make more eloquently.
Sorry.
It's also about looking for stories that have a disabled character as a lead and trying to help get those things financed. So you're not going to get an Iron Man type movie made, right? But why can't you get some independent films made? Why can't you start with that? Well, where a character with a disability is the lead, and you actually cast an actor with that disability.
I just thought of a movie. I didn't see it, but I read the book. And it's a book called Quest for Camelot.
I haven't even heard of it.
Okay, you should look it up. It's like a, you know, I think it was a cartoon in the animated movie, but anyway, one of the lead characters is a blind guy, but he is portrayed as a strong person.
Okay.
And he does get the girl, by the way.
So here's what happens.
Yeah.
In the movie. He either gets his vision back or gets the girl, or he doesn't get the girl.
He didn't get his vision back.
You read the book. You haven't seen the movie. They changed
I have not read the movie. I mean, I have not seen the movie, but I've read the book. I don't know.
Right. But they changed things for Hollywood. I'm telling you.
But I don't know if they're good. I don't know. I've never seen it.
I'm telling you. He doesn't get the girl at the end unless he gets his vision back.
We'll see. Maybe we should watch it.
Maybe.
I've never watched it. But anyway, that was my spiel on the whole couples thing, which I think it's kind of annoying that some people feel that way.
I think there's nothing wrong with calling people out on their shit in that situation.
Or I've heard people say things like, and I did call somebody out on it, but it was nice. I heard somebody say, "Wow, you know, I didn't think you were blind. I mean, you seem so normal." I'm like, what is that supposed to mean? Normal. What is normal to you? I wasn't mean about it, but I was just thinking, what are people thinking about that would make them want to make a comment like that? I don't know. I mean, because some people are really genuinely ignorant and they really don't know. But there are people that have been around enough people to know that you shouldn't, you should really think about what you say before you say it. I don't know. I just think it's interesting. Or, oh, you're blind. Oh, I'm so sorry. You're so pretty. Oh, I'm sorry. You're sighted. You're so ugly. I don't know. It's. I wonder sometimes what would happen if I said that. Shall we go on to the next movie?
We said, so to wrap up, you really liked the film Pumpkin.
I did.
You loved it even.
I would say I'm close to loving it. Yes.
I'm so glad
I'm close to loving it.
Okay. It holds up in a repeat viewing very well. Mm-hmm. I'm very, very thrilled that you enjoyed the movie and that I was able to turn you on to it.
Oh, yeah. She was great. Christina Ricci was just fantastic in the movie. She's a good actress.
I don't need to tell you how much I admire Christina Ricci.
Oh, yeah. And there's another Christina Ricci that I want to show you again another time, but
well, there's some more of her films that I want to show you.
Yes.
But we'll get to that in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Reflecting on the past.
Yes.
Last night, you showed me the Christina Ricci film.
Now and Then.
Now and Then.
And I'm surprised you didn't hear about it. It was from New Line Cinema. This came out in 1995. I don't know when they started shooting the movie, but it was really fun. It was more of a chick flick, but it was fun. And the music was great in the movie. And it's about 4 women. So it stars Demi Moore, Melanie Griffith, Rosie O'Donnell, and Rita Wilson. I don't know why they chose Rosie O'Donnell for one of the women, but they did. That's my opinion and your opinion, right?
I think Rosie O'Donnell is an interesting person. I'm really not in. I have no desire to see her in films.
Yeah.
I'm sure she's a nice enough woman and she does good things, but she just doesn't do it for me on the big screen.
Yes. Yeah. Well, what I think is really weird too, and you've made this comment that Christina Ricci plays a young Rosie O'Donnell in the movie, which is kind of weird.
It's been 25 years since the release of this picture. Mm-hmm. When they flash back, they go back to 1970. So it's 25 years prior to when Demi Moore is in the film, right?
Yep.
So, okay. It's been 25 years since Christina Ricci made that film.
Yep.
She looks nothing like Rosie O'Donnell.
No, she doesn't. I don't know why. And then Gabby Hoffman and Thora Birch, the other 2 girls, and Ashley Aston Moore, who was another one.
Dead Moore.
We won't go into that. So Ashley Aston Moore plays a young Rita Wilson, and you said that she looks like her, right?
Yes.
Gabby Hoffman plays a young Demi Moore.
Gabby Hoffman, to me, as a blind guy, she looked a lot like Demi Moore in this film.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And then, and then of course Thora Birch played a young Melanie Griffith. What do you think about that?
I thought she was good.
Did she kind of look like her? To
me, again, I'm a blind guy, so like facial things are a little bit difficult. But to me, she did a good job looking like her.
Okay. And they chose really good young girls to play the younger women. And it was I love that movie. You know, they're trying to solve a mystery that's going on that has happened in their town of Shelby, Indiana, and their adventures with that. And then what are going on in the 4 girls' lives. One girl's parents are divorced, and the mother has moved on fairly quickly. The other girl, she's in a house with her dad and her brothers because her mother died when she was 4. The other one is living in a house where everything is like sugar and spice and everything nice, and she's just literally prissy, very girly, because that's what her mom is. And then the other one doesn't really have a relationship with her parents because you don't see her parents. She's pretty much a loner, and she imagines herself as a movie star. And so, it's a good movie. It's fun.
I enjoyed it. There were a few flaws in it, but overall it was really, really good.
So there was a scene that the both of us talked about where there was a vet, right? They meet up with this vet. I don't even know why he was in it.
I loved the scene, but it made no sense in the context of the film.
It didn't make any sense. I could take it or leave this. I could take or leave the scene, but it didn't make any sense as to why it would be in there.
His interaction with them was good. I thought the actor did a very fine performance, and the girls were good interacting with him. I loved when they realized that he's a hippie, even though he served in the war. And one of them says, my mom says that something about you guys are all deadbeats. And he says something to the effect of, I'm going to tell you something that I wish somebody would have told me when I was your age. Don't always trust what your parents say.
Your parents are not always right.
Your parents are not always right.
Yeah, and they're not. Oh, okay. Anyway, I'm not gonna comment on that.
Having said that, I think it would have been better coming from Crazy Pete.
Right. Who
is the father of the boy that they're investigating.
Yes. And we don't find that out until towards the end of the movie.
Let's traverse a little bit.
Yes.
You talked about a mystery.
Yes.
These girls are into seances.
Well, one of the girls is actually. Okay. Sam is.
But the others participate.
The others participate, yes.
They go to the cemetery and they try to bring back this boy who was killed 25 years earlier.
Yes, 1945.
They go about this mission to research his death. There's this crazy guy in the neighborhood who we've already mentioned, and they don't find it out until the end of the film that he's actually this guy's father.
And they were under suspicion. They thought that maybe he was the person who committed the murder.
It turns out he was just out drinking that night.
It just turned out that he happened to come in and they were already dead. Yeah. Yes. It was very sad. But you had to feel for the old guy. Because he said, I wasted so many years.
Yeah, he's trying to teach Demi Moore a lesson.
Yeah. And so do you remember that scene where she loses her bracelet and she's going into the storm drain and it's raining hard? Yeah.
Because he rescues her.
Right. And I liked when he asked her, he said, "Why are you afraid of me?" And he asked the two girls. He's like, "Well, you only come out at night. And, it's kind of scary, and they only have ideas about what he looks like." What that reminds me of?
Tell me.
In the movie Home Alone.
I was thinking the same thing with the old dude.
Yes.
I know you're going to just think that I'm making this up, babe. Yes. Literally, when we were watching that movie last night, that scene with the drain, I was thinking of the old dude in Home Alone.
Really?
Yes. I just didn't say anything.
Yeah. Yes. He was a crazy guy, and everybody thought that he was a shovel-wielding murderer.
But he ended up being the hero at the end.
He did.
And he had issues with his family. Not the same ones as Crazy Pete, obviously, but there was some beef between him and his son.
Right.
That Kevin helped them resolve.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes.
I had some predictions while watching this film.
Yes, you did.
Some of them came true.
Yes.
And others did not. And I liked that I got some stuff wrong.
You did get some stuff wrong.
For example, when we first see them as little kids, Demi Moore is listening to her parents argue, and the little sister comes into the room and lies in bed with her. And I turned over to you and I said, "Babe, that little girl's going to die of cancer in this movie."
And I said, "Nope." You watched some more and you're like, "Oh, wait, is that the sister?" I said, "Yeah." And you said, "I thought she died." I'm like, "No, she doesn't die of cancer." No. The reason why she was in the room with her is because she was scared.
No, I knew that.
Yeah.
But I figured what was going to happen is, okay, they're going to show this loving relationship a few more times, and then you're going to either hear that she gets diagnosed with cancer, and they're going to make a reference to, if this was 25 years later, we'd be able to cure this form of cancer. Or there's going to be some accident with the little girl, and she's not going to make it through the film. But my mind was going more towards cancer.
Right.
She lived.
Mm-hmm.
Christina Ricci carries around a picture of her mom, and I thought, okay, they're setting this up so the picture gets destroyed or lost somehow. That did not happen.
That didn't happen, no.
But I got the thing right about Rita Wilson marrying one of the kids.
Yeah. And I didn't want you to guess it because I wanted you to pay attention to the boys. I wanted you to pay attention because I wanted you to figure out who it was, but then you already guessed it. And yeah.
Overall, though, I thought this was a really powerful movie.
It was.
The thing that struck me the most, though, babe, was when Demi Moore is doing the voiceover near the end of the film, and she talks about, we thought that when we bought this treehouse, because they were saving up to do that,
it was going to bring us closer.
Yeah, and it turned out that it made us discover our own independence.
Something like that,
Spend more time apart.
Yeah, it actually gave us our independence from each other.
Yeah. And
that they could just meet. They would meet there, but they would go on with their lives afterwards.
They showed like a young Demi Moore on the roof writing, and the others are in or around the house doing other stuff.
Around their houses?
No, around the treehouse.
Oh, around the tree houses. Okay. Yeah. So she would be writing on the roof of the treehouse.
She would be writing her in her little book, and they'd be like downstairs doing whatever. Outside. Yeah. It was good. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was. It was really fun. I myself have not ever been to a treehouse.
I have.
Did you like it?
It was okay. I had a friend who lived in a treehouse.
A real one?
Yes.
Were you ever afraid that you're going to fall out?
No.
Okay. So he I'm guessing it's a he, right?
Yes.
He built his treehouse?
No, he was staying he was in his 30s. Mm-hmm. And I was in my 20s. Mm-hmm. And he was renting it out from somebody. It's a weird story, but as you know, I know a lot of interesting people.
In tree houses?
Yes.
In a tree house.
Yes, babes.
I did hear that I know that there are people that actually have tree houses that are like houses.
There's apparently a convention that contractors who are interested in building tree houses go to. And I know this because I have a friend of mine who shall remain nameless, unlike your friends, who went to this convention like a year ago, and he said it was very, very cool.
Really?
Yep.
Was he a treehouse contractor, or he just wanted to see what it was about?
He's built one or two in the past, and I think he wants to do more of it in the future.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how did you get into the house? Did it have like a door that you had to climb
You just kind of climbed up to the tree, and there was a door there that you went in.
Wow.
Yeah. Should we move on to the television that we watched?
Yes. Before we forget, yes.
You stayed awake yesterday.
Yes.
As we watched an episode of DS9 about the emissary.
Yes.
Take it, Alana.
So I thought it was a very interesting show because they bring up a concept called a caste system, which...
Do you want to talk about how they did it? Give a little bit of background.
Yes. So what was the guy that... Okay, so this person is brought back to DS9, right? The prophets bring him back,
yes. Correct? And he's been gone for over 200 years.
He's been gone for over... And I forgot what his name was.
I don't remember, but I'm bad with Jordan Lane.
But so he realizes at the time that he should become the new emissary.
He thinks he is.
He thinks he needs to be.
And it matches with a lot of the stuff that's in the prophecy.
Right. So Captain Sisko gives up. Was it Captain Sisko?
Yes.
Yeah, Captain Sisko now gives up his position as emissary. And so he becomes emissary, but everything is upside down. Now it's a caste system, which, from what I understand, the caste system is going on in India, where if you're born poor, you die poor. You are poor for the rest of your life, and whatever your caste system is, that's what you're going to be.
That's the basic.
That's the basic of it. Yeah. There are people that are higher up in the caste system, and they have to pretty much. Some of them are lower than you.
Yes. And
what was that scene where that one person had to stand up?
What happened was
stand up, yeah.
Major Kira is hanging out. She sees Sisko drinking something. I believe it was Ractigino. Mm-hmm. She goes over by him, and somebody stands up, and she's like, I'm going to leave. You're this, and I'm that, so I'm below you. And she walks away. And Kira says, I got to get used to that stuff because it's starting to happen a lot. Because Kira is of a higher caste system, and they basically call them like the Dejara. They don't use the word caste really.
I think it's like Dejara. Yeah, Dejara, yeah. That's what it is.
But her Dejara is to become an artist, and Kira is really a soldier.
Yeah, and she's like, well, I just don't know what to do. I've tried to make this work, and I just didn't.
She's talking to a Vedic, who is one of their spiritual leaders.
And she says, well, just keep on doing what you're supposed to do.
No, what the Vedic says
what does he say?
You got to have faith. You got to put yourself into it. And she says, but I stayed up all night. And he looks at her and replies, yes, but you're still wearing that uniform.
Yeah.
The uniform of the Bajoran army.
Right.
And you're really meant to be an artist.
Yeah.
Later on, that Vedic ends up killing somebody for not being of the right Dejara.
Right, exactly. Just one random person.
It was a person who worked at the church.
It was a person who, that's right.
At the temple, rather.
Yeah, and he killed him, yeah.
What did you think of the episode and how it dealt with religion? At the end of it, Sisko becomes emissary again. And we find out why the man was sent into the future.
Yeah, I think it was really interesting because he had to see what this guy was doing as emissary to appreciate how he operates how he operated when he was the emissary. Because the way that he would run things, he wouldn't run things that way. And he was appreciating what he saw. Or appreciating his position after he saw what that other guy did. Does that make sense?
If I could paraphrase.
Go ahead.
Sisko was always uncomfortable with being the emissary.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he would do some ceremonies, but it wasn't his jam. Yep. He wanted just to focus on being a Starfleet officer. He sees this new guy come in and how he's messing shit up and realizes, wait a second, I was doing a much better job than this guy. And so when the prophets give him the gift of being the emissary again, he can really appreciate it this time around.
Mm-hmm.
Would you agree with my assessment of what you said?
That's pretty much what I said, yes. Or maybe a little bit more, yeah.
How do you feel about the way this episode deals with religion and religious leaders? So, like, the Bajorans are so quick to go back to their Dejaras. Mm-hmm. And at one point, there's this conversation between Kira and Odo when they're going to listen to the new emissary speak.
Right.
And she says something to the effect of, I can't wait to see our emissary speak. Mm-hmm. To which Odo says, but just a couple of days ago, you were convinced that Sisko was the emissary.
Right.
And she says, yeah. And he says to her in response, but they can't both be true, so which is it? Was he or wasn't he ever the emissary?
Right.
So it kind of talks a lot about being brainwashed and following a cult mentality. What did you think of that stuff?
See, I didn't even think about that until you mentioned it. I thought you're right. The Bajorans are very quick to do that. What did you say about their Dejaras?
They're very quick to go back to the Dejaras.
To go back to their Dejaras.
Just because this guy who's claiming to be the emissary says it's...
How it kind of reminds me of how, when we talked about cult leaders and cults and everything, how people... And I'm saying this because I've never actually been in a, well, I don't know, I don't believe that I've ever been in a cult per se or gotten sucked up in a cult, but there are people that what would you say that were more easily influenced than others?
Lemmings?
They're like lemmings, yes. So they would just hear something that sounds good and they would just go with it, right? You know how the cult mentality is, where somebody sounds so charismatic that they'll just go with it, and they'll follow whatever he or she says, and it kind of reminds me of that, in some ways. But she, she was quick to do that, not giving it any thought.
What I like about Major Kira is it shows somebody's duality.
Mm-hmm.
She's very into fighting for things, but there are these subtle ways to where she can be very manipulated, rather.
Manipulated, yeah.
By things like saying, this person is a new emissary, and he says you should do this. I love her because she is a spiritual person. She has flaws in that area, but yet she's a total badass when it comes to fighting people.
Something like that, yeah.
Yes. So I thought this was a really powerful episode. Did you have anything else you wanted to say about it?
No, I don't.
Let's move on to rules of engagement.
Yeah, that was pretty heavy. That was very heavy.
Do you want to go into it, babe?
Well, so I thought it was really interesting
You can give some background, too.
Yes. So, it basically, Worf is brought to trial for murder because he shot at a Klingon ship, correct?
Yes.
A Klingon ship that was decloaked.
It was decloaking at the time.
It was decloaking at the time, yes.
And it was carrying civilians.
But what I found that was really interesting during the trial process was how, shall I say, barbaric the Klingons are when it comes to murder.
Yeah. I guess it's weird for me, somebody who's been a Trek fan since the early 90s, to keep remembering that you have not had that experience.
No. So you know more about the
Yeah,
Klingon.
I've known that they've been barbaric since back in the day. They're way into their barbarianism.
Yes.
But keep going.
And their idea of murdering somebody is different than a human's idea of, they don't care if they're women, children, men, boys, it doesn't matter. They will kill at any cost because when they kill, they will be known in the Klingon world as honorable. Correct?
Yes and no.
Is it honorable? What's the right word?
That's the correct word, but I want to challenge what you said just a little bit. This is according to the prosecutor, who is a Klingon.
Right.
But if you listen to Worf, he says there is nothing honorable about killing somebody who can't defend themselves.
Oh, right, exactly.
So it's a little bit open to interpretation. They are a warrior race, though, and they believe heavily in the idea of honor.
But what was interesting, too, is a Klingon prosecutor is like, well, you're not really Klingon in your heart. You're human in your heart. Because, and he goes, how did you feel about those children that were killed? And he said, I grieve for them. He actually grieves for the children that were killed in that shooting. And the Klingon prosecutor did not understand that.
No, it's not that he didn't understand that. He was trying to make a case because he wanted to win Worf and get the Federation caught up in this situation.
I like the part where the side plot where Quark and Bashir were going back to how doing a flashback of what their idea of Worf in the when they saw Worf in Quark's bar, right?
I wouldn't quite call that a side plot.
Was it a side plot?
No, Quark is remembering it and Bashir is in the memory.
Right.
Yeah.
I thought it was really funny.
My favorite part, though, was at the very end of the episode. Worf gets off because we find out that the Klingons kind of fake the record of the people who are on board. Mm-hmm. And then Sisko goes in and basically yells at him.
Yep.
But then the thing that gets me is the thing at the very end where there's a celebration and everybody wants to have a good time, and Sisko's telling Worf that, and Worf says to him, I do not feel like going today.
Yeah.
And Sisko explains, listen, dude, part of the job of being captain is you got to learn to smile and keep everybody's morale up, even when it's the last thing you want to do. To me, that is so telling about who Sisko is and what it takes to run a crew.
And then he basically said, once you become a captain, you wish you would have taken up botany.
Yeah.
Because it's a hard job. But somebody's got to do it.
That's right.
And Sisko is the man.
Yes.
Sisko is the man.
So we can agree that those were both good episodes.
It was, but I also want to segue into the Fresh Prince.
That's what I was gonna do, babe. You got to give me a chance.
Yes, I know. I'm ahead of you today.
You know, it's like I'll be saying something and you'll be saying, "But what about this point?" I was gonna get to that point. Okay, so I want you to go into this.
I'm sorry.
That's okay, babe. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. We watched an episode.
Yes, we did.
Go ahead. You take the floor.
The floor. It was the episode where Vivian is gone to her sisters, and Viv is gone to the sisters. There's Phil, Uncle Phil, Will, Carlton, Ashley, and Hillary. And it was a show about Will and Carlton not paying rent, right? And it was this whole thing about, well, you have to pay rent if you want to live in this house. And Will and Carlton have this pool party, and you go. You explain more.
Okay. Uncle Phil comes out and he says, I want these people off of my property. And he walks off. Uh-huh. The next day, Will and Carlton get subpoenaed to go to court because Uncle Phil is suing them for rent. He tells his judge friend, listen, I'm only doing this because I want to teach them a lesson. They're probably not going to come.
Yeah. And they come in suit and ties.
Yes. And I thought it was a really funny trial. I really liked the flashbacks that they both did where they altered the history. You know, Uncle Phil in his flashback, he's all timid, and Will and Carlton are just like all up in his grill.
Yes. And they're not even taking into consideration that, you know, that this is Uncle Phil's property.
Yeah, and in Will's flashback, Uncle Phil is just this complete ogre. And
there was like this classical guitar player.
Yeah. Oh, and get me that book of hymns while you're going to throw on more clothes. That's what he says to this girl that he's trying to get with.
Yes.
I've seen this episode before. I really like this one, though.
It was funny.
Yeah.
It was really funny. Now, what were you going to say about the relationship between Will and Uncle Phil?
Okay, here's my question.
Yeah.
And it's not specifically to do with this episode. It's more with the characters in general. Mm-hmm. So, Janet Hubert leaves the show. Mm-hmm. The original and best Aunt Viv.
Yes.
And she's replaced.
Yes.
But my question is for you. Let's say instead of getting another actress to play her, they would have had her leave Uncle Phil or die off. Mm-hmm. Do you think that Will would have remained close to Uncle Phil?
If Aunt Vivian died off?
Well, let's eliminate that. Let's say that she leaves Uncle Phil.
Okay.
And it's not for any spousal abuse. It's not because he's cheating. She just runs off with the pool boy or something.
Okay.
Would Uncle Phil and Will still remain close?
I don't know. I have no idea.
See, I have a definite answer which is going to surprise you.
You think they would have?
Yes. Because he's lived in Uncle Phil's house for 3 years, and Uncle Phil has become attached to him.
Like a father to him.
Yeah, but he sees a little bit of himself in Will. Mm-hmm. Because when Philip was coming up, he was kind of rebellious.
He was.
You know, he was a bit of the outsider. He played that role. He's worn that suit before.
Yeah.
And as much as he loves Carlton, Carlton is the establishment.
You are right, because, you know, he wants to be so much like his dad, right? Yes. Carlton wants to be so much like his dad, but he's trying too hard.
And Will isn't, but he still needs guidance.
Right, exactly.
So I think that they still... It changes a little bit, but I think that they ultimately remain in contact. And Uncle Phil wants to be a strong mentor to Will.
That's interesting.
Yes.
Well, what about the girls, though? Ashley and Hillary?
Those are his daughters, so of course they're going to stay in contact with their dad.
No, I know that. But do you think that Nikki, Ashley, and Hillary would still be close to Uncle Phil? Or their dad, rather?
Yeah, they're his daughters.
No, I know
and
that.
he pays the bills. Of course they're going to be close. And Nikki's too busy aging fast to know what's going on.
Here we go again. So,
yeah, I think they all stay in contact with Uncle Phil.
That's really interesting that you came up with that scenario.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'm sure that the lady who played the new Aunt Vivian was a nice lady, but it just didn't jive well.
No.
They just didn't jive well together. just she may have been a nice mother figure, but it just wasn't working.
I agree.
I just didn't like it. I'm glad that they didn't, get new Ashleys and new Wills. And
what would have been funny, though, is if they had a new Aunt Viv for every season going forward.
That would be hilarious. Yes. That would be funny. That would be really, really funny.
Yes.
And towards the end of it, they have like an older Aunt Viv.
Yeah, so it's like a running gag in the show. Who's going to play Aunt Viv this year?
That would be funny. That would make me watch the show like... That would make me still watch the show. That would be hilarious.
It would be.
But you know what would be funny?
Tell me.
If they changed they could either change Uncle Phil or Aunt Viv. Maybe Aunt Viv would be better.
Aunt Viv would be better.
And then towards the end of it, she's like old.
Yes.
Like.
You literally just said that.
I know. I did.
Keep going.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
I just repeated myself.
You seem a little antsy. We might want to consider wrapping this up.
Do I seem antsy?
You do.
I don't know why.
You might need to watch some more DS9, okay?
Okay. I'm just really psyched that today is our anniversary and 2 years.
Yes, baby.
We're gonna have a simple dinner. What are we gonna have for dinner?
We're gonna have bagels, sandwiches, and a couple of chips. And then some red velvet cake.
And possibly ice cream.
Yeah.
Chocolate ice cream. Yeah, I was so thankful yesterday that the person who delivered my groceries found a red velvet cake. Yeah. And I was afraid that it wasn't going to be a good size, but it was a good size.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is.
Yes, I'm excited, babe.
Me too.
Yes.
Me too.
I think it's about time to start doing some kissing.
Oh yeah.
Unless there's anything else you wanted to say.
No, but I'm sure you'd like to, look at that and maybe do some editing. Who knows?
Do you want me to edit that out, or do you think that you'd be fine with that? Because I can't do editing from here.
I know. I personally think it would be. Well,
here's what we're gonna say.
Mm-hmm.
Here's my assumption.
Okay.
You might be getting the name wrong because it's been a few years and a lot has happened to you. And you're kind of tired today, so I know you said...
tired today?
Yeah, so I know you said the name Jane, but it may have been, Sarah or Zara or...
It could have been another person that may have had the name that sounded like it was that name. I don't know.
It could have been Zane, but for a girl. So... If I'm understanding you correctly, you said the name Jane, but that may not be correct. Because it's been so many years and all that stuff.
Yeah, and she was, I only went there once and...
Yes, so we can share this.
I only went there once and, she was more like an acquaintance. So.
Exactly, so it's easy to get the names wrong.
Right.
I like the sound of that, babe. Is there anything else you want to say? Before you get me in more trouble.
Yeah. Red velvet cake, here we come. No, that's later. That's I love red velvet cake.
We might want to make out and then have some Kit Kats, though.
Something.
And then watch some DS9.
Yes. I don't know why my eyes are watery.
You're so happy. It's our anniversary, babe.
I'm crying.
Yes.
No.
And then tonight, I will show you a fish called Wanda.
Yes. And I, in turn, am going to show you he's just not that into you. Can you explain a fish called Wanda before we wrap this up completely?
Okay.
And I'll explain the other one.
I'll give a brief overview. John Cleese, I believe, wrote the film. And I told you the other day, I believe that Eric Idle is in it. Mm-hmm. For some reason, I was mistaking him with Michael Palin.
Okay.
So, these criminals are in London. They do this robbery. And Jamie Lee Curtis is part of the crew. She is dating Kevin Kline's character, whose name is Otto, who's this typical, wannabe macho American guy. Kevin Kline won an Oscar for this role, and rightfully so. She ends up falling for a barrister played by John Cleese and the Mayhem
ensues. A barrister?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
So that's basically the plot without giving too much away.
Okay, well...
And Michael Palin plays a stutterer in the film.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
Which brings up some humorous moments.
I bet.
Yes.
So, He's Just Not That Into You is a romantic comedy. I really liked it. It basically follows 4 women. One of them has been with this guy for 7 years, but has not been proposed to. The other one is carrying on a relationship with this guy, and they don't know where it's going. She's also seeing, maybe I should get to that later in a little bit. So she's seeing this guy. They don't know where the relationship's going. This other lady is married. Her husband is cheating with the same girl, with the other girl. And then the other one is looking for love online. And I think I may have had that wrong because I only saw the movie once, but I think it's a fun movie.
We're going to have fun tonight, babe.
Yes. And the other girl, I think there's like either 4 or 5 girls. The other girl is thinks that she's in a relationship with this guy, so she purposely tries to call him like every 15 minutes.
Nice.
And she goes, isn't it a girl's job to call her boyfriend like every 15 minutes? I don't know. It would annoy me. It would really annoy me.
Yes. All right, babe, is there anything else you wanted to say?
All I want to say is happy 2-year anniversary, and I am so happy that we made it.
Me too. Maybe we should kiss real quick. All right. Until next time.
Until next time, happy Saturday.
Happy Saturday, okay.
I'll be back.